All right, welcome to another episode of Drawing Expressions with Mr. Specht. Today, I am going to show you guys how to draw somebody who's in a very villainous or evil expression. Think about all those great villains that you remember from all your favorite movies, and that's what we're going to try to do. I'm going to start by drawing a circle above my paper. What that means is I'm going to draw lines in the air before I even touch the paper about roughly what I want my circle to look like. And then, when I'm ready, when I got some good circles going in the air, I'm going to slowly push my pencil down towards the paper and start drawing my circles. And let's see how we do. All right. So we're going to draw a lot of lines, just like we did in the past. We're going to draw a lot of lines, and the best lines are the ones that are going to become my villain's head. Next up, I want the shoulders to be kind of like the person's hunched over, almost like when you think of like a cat, when a cat's trying to get aggressive. Or an animal trying to get aggressive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the shoulders coming from the sides of the head. Rather than drawing the neck, I'm just going to do the shoulders. So my person's kind of hunched over, plotting, coming up with a weird plan or evil plan. Next up, we go with the half rule. So halfway down the head is where I draw my eye line. That's right, halfway down. But because we're changing things up for this one, I'm going to bend my eye line down so it looks like my person's going to be looking down towards the ground a little bit. So that's the way I want that to look. Now, if I go halfway from the middle of the eye line to the chin, it's my nose line. And then halfway down from my nose line to the chin, that's my mouth. That's where my lips should be. You'll notice everything, all my lines are in a much closer vicinity and they're much lower on my image. All right, starting out with the right ear. Again, we start right above the eye line on both sides and try to make it look symmetrical. It may not matter as much for this particular drawing, but I'm going to do my best and not going too detailed just right now because I might not need it later on. All right, so for the hair, this is where we're going to break up symmetry just a little bit. I'm going to have it look like the person, like his or her hair is covering part of the person's face. We're not going to see it all. There's going to be this kind of idea of shadowing and shading, and part of their face being kind of masked by their hair. So I'm going to start with the part, and again, I've said this to you guys before, don't try to draw every single strand of hair. Instead, we're going to outline our shapes, and then we're going to fill in the highlights and, more importantly, the lowlights. We're not going to fill in the highlights. We're going to leave those empty. We're going to fill in the lowlights. Okay, so I'm just going to go in there and draw some of that. I'm not drawing every single strand of hair. It's not necessary, and honestly, it doesn't look good. So I'm just going to go in and start filling in some of the hair. And you can see how one whole side of my portrait's face is covered with hair. So that's what we're going to do. And then now I'm going to work on the other side. And then this side, I'm going to pull the hair behind the face, behind the person's ear. And so it's going to be very, a really nice break in the symmetry between both sides. All right, very good. So now I'm just going to fill in some of this stuff, and then I'm going to start working on the person's eyes, or in this case, eye, because we only see one of them. The other one's covered by hair. So I'm going to outline the top of the eye, and then I'm going to have the person looking towards us even though their head is down. So I'm only drawing the bottom part of the person's eye here, and I'm just going to fill it all in solid. No light, nothing shining on the eye this time around. You can already see it's kind of giving kind of a spooky look. If I jump down to the nose, because the head is tilted down, you're going to notice I'm not going to draw the nostrils this time around. I'm actually going to just draw the bottom part of the nose, just like this. Okay. Next up, the lips. I want him or her to look very creepy this time around, my figure to look very creepy this time around, my portrait to look very creepy. So I'm going to have a kind of a smirk on one side and then keep it kind of flat on the other. And I'm even going to add a little bit of parentheses in here just to kind of show off that smirk. This person has a plan, a diabolical, evil plan. Boys and girls both have lips, so I'm going to draw the top lip and the bottom lip here. And as I mentioned, boys and girls also have eyelashes. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do kind of like eyeliner, because I'm just going to go thick with this one to make it look really kind of this dark feel. Next up, eyebrows. Because this person has an evil plan, we want to pull down the center of the eyebrows. We want to bring it low, almost as if a person was angry, but instead this person just has an evil idea going on in their head. I want to work down on the chin here and kind of make it a little bit more pronounced, because right now I just see some of my sketch lines from the initial circle that I drew. And then I'm going to give this person some really solid cheekbones. All right, for clothing, how about something like real torn up, they got caught fighting a tiger or something, some crazy beast. This person is a little bit wild, and I'm going to continue that on in the shirt right here. And at this point, I kind of have my first step done, which is just get your preliminary sketches in there. I know the way my person wants to look. This is the fun part. This is where we're going to start adding in some shadow. But before I do that, I want to erase any guidelines that I no longer need. If they're not helping me out, I might as well just erase them. Get rid of that. Okay, just want to make sure everything looks good before we start shadowing and shading. Make sure everything looks cleaned up. Get some of these lines that were just sketches a little bit cleaned up a little bit. All right, so this is where I'm going to add in some of my shadow and shading. We're going to go much heavier this time around with the shadow because this person is kind of diabolical. So I'm going to add a lot of lead to the top of the eye and a good chunk underneath the eye. And then I'm going to go right down the side of the nose. And then on the flip side, because the hair is covering the face, there should be lots of shadow coming right underneath the hair. There should be lots of shadow appearing right underneath this person's hair, the way their hair is parted. And then underneath the cheekbone, I'm going to do that a little bit on both sides. Don't forget, in a minute here, we're going to actually use our finger to kind of smear this stuff in. Underneath the nose, as always, because your nose sticks out. The top lip I'm going to add a little bit, and then underneath the bottom lip as well. And then the neck. We don't even see the neck, but underneath the chin, there needs to be a lot of shadow. So we're going to go ahead and add that in as well. There we go. Really a lot of shadow. Now, natural oils from our fingers. This is where we start to create the value, because what we're going to do is we're going to smear in that pencil lead into the paper and create some of our shades. There's going to be real lights, real darks, and then everything in between, those grays in between. All right, so at this point, kind of got my shadowing done, so that's step number 2. So all I have to do is step number 3, which is go back in and clean up some of my lines. So in the hair, where I see some of the hair I'd like to be more pronounced and less sketchy, I'm going to go ahead and outline that. And there's a lot of stuff I can do to help that hair stand out just a little bit more. I can go in pretty dark with my lines this time around because of the fact that this person, again, we're trying to give this kind of an evil feel. So darker lines are actually kind of nice. I'm going to keep adding some of this stuff in here. I already got some of the face lines done. I got a little distracted and started putting some of the finishing lines in on the face. So this is looking pretty good to me.